Happy Friday, everybody. I hope that you all had a lovely week. Today, I would like to talk a bit to, well, firstly, what's going on with the planets, and then talk to how we can start to use the impact of what's happening astrologically to our benefit, and share a practice that will help us with our emotions, actually, because our relationship with ourselves is really what's under the microscope at the moment. And it's a really opportune time for us to make transformative changes to the way that we interact with those around us, but primarily within ourselves. So, as I was saying, there's been some astrological changes, which for me personally have been quite beneficial. And that's because Mars, the planet Mars, has moved into the house of Aries. And this has actually brought a lot of energy to us because Mars is the planet of war, which, relatively speaking, can be referred to as energy, as transformation, as dynamism, action. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's kind of the springtime, if you like. It's very childlike in many ways, but very open and very engaging and creative. And so with all of these energies flying around, and it's there for, I believe 6 months. I'm not an astrologer, okay, so double check me. But I believe it's around 6 months, which will give us a really powerful window to maybe step into a version of ourselves that we might have been holding back from. So this is a really important part of what I want to share today, because courage is actually a really big theme for where we're at the moment. And that's because, as I've said many times, this energetic transition that we are going through, and if you know this, thank you for your patience as I quickly share for those that are new to this, hello and welcome, by the way, that we are going through a significant energetic shift at the moment. We're moving into what's called the age of Aquarius, and which is really wonderful because we're actually moving into this new era of higher vibrational existence. And as part of that, we are going through a transition from this older, more fearful, heavier based energy, and we are shedding the skin of all of this energy in order that we can sustain and maintain ourselves in this higher frequency. There have been a lot of impacts of this in our society, which we've seen very clearly with COVID, which, to be honest, helpfully put us all into quarantine and enabled us to move through this transition as peacefully as we probably could have. And that's because the primary driver behind this transition is bringing up all our shadow aspects, which is what we're going to talk to a little bit more today, and how to deal with them. And being in quarantine, we actually were not thrust upon one another whilst dealing with all our internal, shifts, so to speak. And so we were able to really focus on ourselves and make that journey far more powerfully than we might have done if we'd not been in quarantine. So, and I know a lot of you may be continuing to be in quarantine. Here in Australia, it's become, well, a little relaxed in areas. So the point is, going through this shift, going through this time where the shadow, the darker aspects of ourselves are coming up to the surface, it's how we move through it that defines our experience, as it does with everything. And when I talk to Mars coming into the house of Aries, I really believe that this courageous streak which is present in all of us, is being called upon. And that's because we felt a lot of discomfort over the last few months. But in that, we've probably gained a lot more awareness and insight into the aspects of ourselves that we are fragile with. And through this process, you can remain very reactive to it in terms of things happening and you just react as you feel in the moment. But what I'd really suggest, especially at the moment, is to, now you've gained, a few months experience of this challenging energetic experience and gained observations around where you're sensitive, maybe become a little bit more masterful in how you start to relate to those experiences that trigger you. And by that I mean observing your dark side and working with it differently. Now, to explain what I mean, I want to talk directly to our emotions, because emotions get a really bad rap in our culture. People are generally terrified of emotions. And what do we do when we're terrified as a culture? We shame something, because that means nobody does it because they don't want to be embarrassed, right? And actually, our emotions are a really vital part of our growth. This does not mean that we're going to end up crying ourselves into our future. It means that we begin to have the courage to face the emotions that come up, that are present within us, in order to move through them. I like to compare emotions to fog, because when something happens to us and we feel a really strong gut reaction that's really emotional, can be anger perhaps, and it sits with us so strongly, and it can be like a dense fog. And we might be ashamed of that anger. We might be angry with our best friend and not want to be angry, and we are angry and it feels bad and there's guilt. But the truth is, it's the anger itself that is the issue. And what I want to suggest and take you through a little practice with in a minute is sitting with that. Often we distract ourselves from how we truly feel. And to be honest, that doesn't serve us, because all we are doing is ignoring the truth, really. And actually, energetically speaking, it's really bad for our health. And as a healer, that's actually what I end up working with a lot, are these trapped emotions which cause energy blocks in our systems. And so what I want to suggest today is, when you're in a situation which is challenging, asking yourself really courageously and honestly, and making time to do this. So being on your own, closing your eyes and asking yourself, okay, what is really upsetting me in this situation? And really feeling into the emotion that is sitting with you over whatever the experience is, and feeling into it. And by that, what I'm asking you to do is see the fog and walk through the fog. Okay, go straight into it, which doesn't line up with any of our, animal-based instincts. Okay, but in walking through the fog, even when it gets really thick and you can't see in front of you, and that anger is really strong, perhaps, if you can sit with it and you can feel all of it, it will dissipate. And I almost go with the attitude of, what have you got? How bad is this? Like, come on, give me everything you've got. And you'll get to a point where it will all dissipate and you'll just feel a bit sort of meh about the whole thing. The energy behind the emotion has gone. Therefore, you have your power back. The fear, the anger, the envy, the sadness no longer has control of you. And that's what we want to really move into, is this space within yourself which is no longer threatened by these emotions that you're feeling. Because if we constantly turn away from hard feeling places within ourselves, we end up creating this little small box that we have to exist in, because anytime we try and step out of it, it feels awkward, or it hurts too much, or it's embarrassing, and actually what we're doing is disempowering ourselves significantly. And so with Mars going into Aries, I feel it's such a powerful time for us to really embrace this choice, this invitation that we're being presented with. And that is to sit away from your emotions, to concentrate on going out, going to the gym, doing other things, and distraction, whilst the emotion sits over here somewhere, or digging deep and turning to the elder that sits within you. We all have a wise man or woman within us. It's our elder. And that part of us is capable of holding space for us. And by that I mean digging deep within yourself and saying, do I have the courage to face this? And there is a part of you that will always say yes. The child aspect of you will say, no, 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 don't do it, don't do it, you know, and is scared and fearful. It's misguided self-love in a way, this part of you, because it believes it's protecting you, but actually it's just keeping you in a really small, tight space. And you know when you're there because it doesn't feel good. When you move through the emotion, when you can find the resilience, the patience, the compassion for your own happiness and own well-being, when you can care enough about yourself to say to yourself, this might be uncomfortable and I may cry a lot and I might not like this experience particularly, but I cannot carry on the way that I am. I will not accept this level of happiness when I believe I deserve more. And when you can get to that powerful place and you can walk through the fog and get to the other side, you will no longer be held back by anything. So, seeing the time we're going through at the moment as a real opportunity for you to really overcome things that might have been really limiting for you before. Remember, you are a sovereign being of light. You've had thousands of lives. This is one of them. And every single life you have, your real purpose is to evolve, is to grow, is to experience. And so if you are holding yourself back from doing that in any way, you are resisting your very reason for being. This is what we are here to do. So utilize this opportunity. And I'm asking you to back yourself, okay? Because it's possible and you can do it and it's the right time to do it. If you're not sure about what kind of area you could look at, if you're not sure about what your triggers are, use what I call your reflection. And this means everything that we energetically give out comes back to us. And by that I mean, if you're angry with somebody, the likelihood is they'll be angry back, okay? So we're constantly responding to the energy that we're receiving. And likewise, the people around us are receiving and responding to our energy. And so what can sometimes be helpful is to look at the people around you and see what is it about them that upsets you. Because generally speaking, when someone else upsets you, they're hitting a soft point inside of you, a trigger point, a wound on some level. And it's your opportunity then to heal that. I can give you a personal example. This week, I was upset with my husband. And you see, the problem is when you've got this kind of awareness is that you can't blame people anymore. So I spent quite a bit of time for me, actually, in this state of real, annoyance mainly, that I couldn't blame him. And yet I really did, there was a significant part of me that wanted to be the victim of this situation, do the whole poor me thing, okay? Which was new, like I haven't done that in a while. And anyway, and I went with it for a little while and blamed him for a whole bunch of stuff. And in the back of my mind, there's that voice that's saying, well, we all know, Kay, that this isn't gonna last because at some point you're gonna see that this is all a reflection of you. And sure enough, that time came. And I asked myself, why am I angry with him? And I realized it was because I was upset with myself because I felt I was letting myself down in a particular area. And once I could admit that to myself, I could apologize and I could forgive myself and of course my husband. But then I moved from a place that felt tight and uncomfortable into a place that felt expansive and free. And this is what this process is all about. So don't for 1 minute think I'm asking you to do something I don't do myself, okay? I'm just looking at my notes. When you do that process, when you move from a tight place to an expanded place, what you'll experience is a revelation. And by that I mean the penny will drop. There'll be some sort of epiphany. And this experience we're going through right now with energy shifting, it is ripe with opportunities for epiphanies, for revelations, for growth. It's also ripe for challenge, for hardship, for suffering, okay? With what's happening is this kind of emphasis on both extremes. And so in every single instance where you feel torn between the two, know that you have a choice, and you can ask yourself, how do I get to a place that feels freer? Because it's there, I'm just not lining up with it energetically. And if you're finding yourself in a spot that's super challenging and you can't seem to get yourself out of, it's because you're playing the same problem over and over in your head, which means that the energetic frequency you're putting out is just coming back, and it's like an endless loop. And if that's where you're at right now, I suggest you just give up. Let that issue go. Stop putting energy into it. Put your focus elsewhere, anywhere else. Okay? Because if you're trying to fix something and it's not working, the chances are the energy you're putting into it is not serving you. You're not on the right vibration. So stop putting your energy into it and just put it to one side and leave it. If it's something you can't put to one side, then let go. Be in the situation, but try to let go of all responsibility. Give up, essentially, emotionally speaking. Have a cry. Just say, it's too hard, I don't know what to do. And you see, when you do that, spirit can help you because you're no longer trying to control everything. You give it up, you let it go, and then you can get support. Right, talking too much. Now, I want to show you a practice. So, what I'd like you to do is find yourself a comfortable position. And before you close your eyes, just whilst you're shuffling around now, I would like you to consider where in your life at the moment you are feeling discomfort. Okay? Because I'm going to take you through a little practice where you can experience what I was referring to earlier about moving through this emotion. And so when you're ready, just closing your eyes and taking your attention to your breath. And if you can, just breathing through your nose only. If that's not possible for you, that's okay. And just taking a nice deep inhale and holding your breath before you exhale. And then holding your breath before you inhale. And then holding your breath before you exhale. So just holding your breath between every inhale and every exhale, just a small amount of time. Allowing your shoulders to relax, your tummy to soften. And just internally saying to yourself, this is my time. This is time for me. Returning to normal breathing when it feels comfortable for you. And now, taking your mind to whatever situation it is that is troubling you. And if it's someone else that's upsetting you, asking yourself very honestly, what is it about their behavior that upsets me? And feel the emotion that is attached to that trigger. Feel the challenge inside of yourself. And try and be as clear as you can about what it is that you're feeling. And I want you to feel that feeling as strongly as possible. I want you to sit with it for the next few moments and just feel into that discomforting sensation, whatever it feels like. And just saying to yourself, I wish to feel this as strongly as I can. And you might feel it in a particular area of your body, and that's okay. Just focusing on it and just feeling deeply, deeply, deeply into it. This might make you emotional. You might feel tears wanting to come up. And if so, please do. It might make you feel enraged. You might be screaming inside of your mind. If so, just let that happen. Feel deeply into whatever the experience is. And as you crescendo in this emotion, I'd like to also point out that there is a part of you that is detached from this, that does not feel caught up in the emotion. There is a witness aspect to you. And I would like you to observe that part of yourself while still feeling what's happening emotionally. And slowly, that emotion, that feeling, that discomfort should start to feel lighter and lighter. And that part of you that feels a witness should become clearer. And as you move through the emotion, almost saying to yourself, is this all you've got? Is this everything? If you're still deeply in it, continue to feel into it and ask yourself, is this an old pattern? Have I felt like this many, many times before? And if the answer is yes, then ask yourself, can I change my relationship with this emotion? Can I change my relationship with this pattern? And slowly you should feel the weight of the discomfort shifting, lightening. And your attitude towards the experience or person or persons shifting as well. And you can either stay in this place and continue to work on it, or gently bring yourself back into your environment, gently moving your toes and your fingers. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Now, I hope that the practice served you. I hope that you moved through something. If you didn't, but you felt you just need to spend more time with it, please make it a priority. There is nothing more important than your mental state, because everything starts off in your mind. Your body reflects what's going on in your mind. And so when you can work with what you're experiencing up here, you're automatically improving your health. So, moving through these emotions gives you the opportunity to rebirth yourself. This is a time of new beginnings and endings. I personally have been witnessing people passing out of this world and going into spirit. And I've also observed a lot of babies coming in early. It's almost like souls can't wait to get in, and those that have done what they needed to at this time are leaving. because there's such a big transition. So it's really having a profound change on our environment and the people in it. And it's just a reflection of what we can do inside ourselves. And so if you're really ready to step into the most powerful version of yourself, never has there been a better time. I hope that this has served you, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Any questions or recommendations, please drop them in return on the email or below on the Facebook. If you're not part of the Facebook group yet, please join. These videos go up every single week, and and there's conversation around them, so it would be great to hear back from you. And I'm wishing you a lovely weekend. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.